Well, hello again. Peter Saturday from Universal Dork back again today to talk about a super wild and crazy, totally bonkers Indonesian film from 1992 called Dangerous Seductress. Yeah, check that out. This film is absolutely bonkers. It will deliver on so many different levels. So if you're a fan of like the Andy Sedaris stuff, like Hard Ticket to Hawaii and stuff like that, it's got that kind of vibe going on. And then it also feels like it's mixed maybe with sort of like a Evil Dead 2 style film. It's just completely ridiculous, and I loved every second of this, by the director of Mystics in Bali, which is an absolutely insane classic as well, and the other Indonesian classic that also has kind of a pretty big cult following already, Lady Terminator. But unfortunately, Dangerous Seductress really doesn't get talked about enough. Now the director here, Tajut Dajil. Now the director here, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, Tajut Dalil. Tajut Tajil. Tajut Tajalil is what I'm going to say is how I'm going to pronounce it here. Actually, that's the last time I'm actually going to try to even say his name out loud. And if you've seen a movie like Lady Terminator or Mystics in Bali, you pretty much know exactly what to expect here, which is complete mayhem. Filmed in Indonesia, takes place also in Los Angeles. Obviously, I don't believe that any of this film is taking place in the United States, although I believe at the time they're trying to kind of like crack the international deal, like American market with this in the video store market. But Dangerous Seductress kind of remains one of these films that just doesn't really get the attention it deserves. It did get a Mondo Macabro DVD a while back, and I'm very surprised that they haven't stepped up to the plate to release this thing on Blu-ray, which this thing absolutely needs. I checked out this version of the film right here. This is like a bootleg of it. Doesn't look very good. The quality is pretty bad. I could see this thing getting all cleaned up and looking absolutely fantastic and being an absolute joy to behold in like a 4K release or like a 2K. This is like a supernatural action, sex comedy, horror film. It takes all of these genres and kind of mashes it into one gnarly ball. You never really know exactly what to expect or what the fuck is going to happen next here. And that's one of the best things about this particular director is the way that he navigates this sort of style of absolute like madness from scene to scene. And this thing has got a real easy, digestible plot. Let me read it right off the back here of this nifty bootleg DVD. Ready for this?
Susan travels to Southeast Asia to stay with her sister Linda, hoping for a fresh start. While alone, she uncovers an ancient book of spells and unknowingly summons the spirit of a long-dead witch, whose dark influence begins to take control of her. As Susan becomes a dangerous and seductive presence, a series of violent deaths draws attention from Linda and Sergeant Dottie. Realizing something supernatural is at work, they race to stop the curse before the ancient evil claims more victims. Haha.
So yeah, the plot of this film is sort of like made for dum-dums, which I absolutely love. It's like made for someone like me. This is a fucking party movie at its core. Now, the opening of the film is arguably the best part of it. So it's really kind of like bookended by probably one of the most insane opening scenes that I've ever seen, which is this car chase with the police officers in Jakarta and these sort of like, jewel thieves, and they're chasing them all over. And there's like the head of the jewel thieves, kind of sort of like this gang leader. And he's in the car with this other guy who's like a minion of his. He just goes flying off the handle throughout this entire car chase and is literally punching his henchman guy in the face while this guy is driving the car.
Why'd you have to shoot that cop, asshole? Now we're never gonna shake him.
Trying to evade the police in like a high stakes, high tension car chase.
Yeah, he had it coming. Not cause of you, little David.
It's absolutely unbelievable, and one of the best parts of this film is the opening. But that's not all. Things go crazy when the car chase is taken into a cemetery, and some of the blood of these jewel thieves is spilled on the ground in the cemetery and leaks into a certain like tomb and awakens this sort of like evil spirit or creature from another dimension, the Dangerous Seductress. and we get to witness this thing's transformation from a worn out, craggy old skeleton as it piles on what looks like, stop motion Play-Doh onto the bones, which is absolutely amazing to behold. And as it forms into this like super sexy, hot lady, the dangerous seductress, as it's forming, it's almost like a scene that would be in like Evil Dead 2 or like the original Evil Dead. And then, of course, it was sort of like the crowd pleaser when we watched this as a group. This little, like, severed finger that's running towards this magical locket that encapsulates it. Pretty fucking awesome. You don't see this every day. Really inventive practical effects here. Gotta love it. And right in mid-transformation of while this is happening, a goddamn dog comes onto the scene. This dog that's like really hungry and really kind of like salivating at the mouth to like eat a bone. He just sort of like randomly wanders onto the scene while this thing is transforming and decides he wants to snag a bone. He's got that craving. He goes to grab the bone, and this goddamn dangerous seductress rips the goddamn dog's head off and drinks its blood, kind of then culminating and completing her transformation into this super sexy lady. Then the movie's pace kind of slows down a bit and we go to the main characters. So we basically have this hot lady named Linda. She lives in LA. She seemingly has like this amazing relationship with her husband. He's sort of like this numbnut, kind of like beefcake guy.
Hi, Susie.
And they live in this real like fancy mansion together, and they're getting ready to eat this real fancy dinner together and, have wine and get all sexy time together.
Happy anniversary, baby.
John, you're impossible.
And for some reason, they get into this little disagreement that, flips on a dime.
Let's eat first, okay?
Kind of like any situation in this movie can just like occur for no apparent reason. They get into this, very minimal argument, and then suddenly the husband turns into this like ravaging sex lunatic who forces himself upon his wife. He literally breaks the table in half. Now, none of this is very like graphic or visual. It's the way that it's played out, very hard to take any of this seriously because the acting in this film is god awful and I love every second of it. So of course, she storms out of the house, just like narrowly escapes this sex crazed bonehead, and decides to call her sister who lives in Indonesia, in Jakarta. So yeah, she decides to go to Indonesia and hang out with her sister, who's kind of like this sexy model. She gets over there. They're both kind of almost look like they're twin sisters, but she's really happy to be there. And then her sister ends up having to leave to go on this like photo shoot that she's going to do, this real kind of like exotic and super sultry and sexy photo shoot. This is kind of where the movie starts feeling like, Hard Ticket to Hawaii or like an Andy Sedaris film, which I absolutely love that this movie kind of goes in that direction too. But she leaves, and then her sister, this woman from LA, discovers this like strange book, almost like the Necronomicon, in her house. And it turns out that her sister actually got this book from this like occult advisor dude.
Hi.
I'm pleased to meet you. Bill's told me a lot about you, and I must say, didn't exaggerate your beauty. And I have a gift for you too, Linda. An ancient text I found in Sumatra. It's titled Mystics of the East.
This like book kind of triggers this, awakening of this dangerous seductress who is living inside of this mirror that this woman, Linda, who is a woman scorned. And this dangerous seductress is looking for a woman who wants to get revenge on a bunch of horny boneheads. This evil spirit of the woman who was like formed from Play-Doh from the beginning, that spirit enters into her body and she becomes the dangerous seductress. And at this point, we follow her all over the streets of Indonesia, like Jakarta, and she goes all over the place and finds every horny numbnut she can at these like super cool, super hip bars where she just finds a whole slew of idiotic morons throughout this city who are just only thinking with their dingling.
Now look at the one who's just come in. She's got what it takes. Great eyes, great face, lips, smile, gorgeous figure. She's certainly worth the effort.
I'd like a cognac, please.
Might I suggest sex on the beach?
What an interesting proposition.
Bartender, sex on the beach.
Yeah, I did.
Which is not the best thing to be doing in a movie called Dangerous Seductress, because this woman goes and fucks these guys up. She fucks up this one guy on a yacht.
You're a witch.
Kneel before your queen, mortal.
Witch. No. No. No! Ah! Ah!
She entices these other sort of like younger teenage numbnut boneheads that are like following her around. They all want to have their chance to have sex with her.
Let's party.
Sure can't handle those wheels.
Alright, yeah. Let's go, man.
Why'd we come all the way out here?
Well, I didn't really know where I was going. I'm not from here, but I kind of like this place. I think we could have some fun here. How about you?
She lures them into like this meat locker.
Wow, we can't say no now. What if they heard about this back in town? Yeah, I know. But this place gives me the creeps. What's you want to come all the way out here anyhow?
What's the matter, Jackie boy? Getting a little soft, huh?
Not me. But you know what happened to that guy last night? And your wife had a chick did it, huh?
Are you crazy? Did you see her? The chicky's hot. She's looking for guys like us. And she's probably a nympho, too. This is a chance in a lifetime, asshole.
Hey, come on, cool it.
Not really much nudity, if any at all, in this film. It's, in fact, like, you kind of think that the dangerous seductress woman who's possessed, that she's going to get naked a bunch of times. She never really does. And when she actually does get, like, naked, she has, like, laser boobs. So this film utilizes all of those special effects that I love so much, like that hand-drawn, like, animation that you see for, like, lightning and electricity and sort of, like, supernatural, magical things going on with neon stuff. Utilizes a ton of that, and I absolutely love that. The only problem is this damn bootleg DVD looks so crappy, and the Mondo Macabro DVD is well out of print. But also really cool is that this plot also brings back that numbnut, kind of like beefcake abusive husband. He decides that he's going to go all the way to Indonesia to kind of stalk her. Bad move for him. Dangerous Seductress is on his trail. This guy has not learned his lesson. He did not come to apologize. He gets what's coming to him in a pretty fantastic sequence as well. Now, the kind of like middle section of this film, I don't want to say it drags at all, but because the opening is so strong, I was really worried that this film wasn't going to really be able to reach the heights of the opening sequence. Luckily, the end of this movie really brings it. So we've got a fantastic finale here, filled with all of the sort of like supernatural special effects going on, some monster effects, some crazy stuff going on with this mirror that is partly responsible for bringing the dangerous seductress into the scene with her spirit. Anyway, it's like a doorway to another dimension. This goddamn mirror is very resilient and almost like indestructible. Got the occult advisor, sort of like badass character, gets reintroduced into the plot. Totally forgot that he was even in the movie. For a second, I was like, who the fuck is this guy and why is he showing up right now? They throw everything at the wall, and luckily in the finale, most of it sticks. This thing is a ton of fun. Also got like a really great soundtrack as well. There's a ton of like super sultry, sexy saxophone, and there's also some like pretty good pop songs in here. In fact, this film has its own theme song, this pop song, which is actually called Dangerous Seductress. Someone needs to release that on vinyl. I'll buy that.
Party's just begun. She's a dangerous seductress.
Yeah, Dangerous Seductress. I can't say enough good things. I was kind of blown away by it. So this particular director, I'm going to do a little more poking around, but this director here really deserves a lot more of a cult following. You're not going to find another film quite like this one. So yeah, I think you can watch this thing for free on YouTube, like a really bad version of it. You can also buy this bootleg here on eBay. I like to have this in my collection, but I really want that Blu-ray to be released, so someone get on this. All right, so that's it for me. I will see you next time.